business you've always dreamed of, returning to school to study something new, getting hired back at your old company as a consultant without the benefits but getting paid more and feeling like you're truly valued, and many other ways of reinventing the later stages of our careers. Rather than retiring to a life of leisure, just as often we're learning new tricks, pursuing old or newfound passions, and building portfolios, brands, or businesses that align more closely with our values and caretaking responsibilities. Research studies, many cited in the chapters in this volume, support the trends we are seeing in our friends and family. According to a Federal Reserve Board study, a full 1/3 of those who retire eventually reverse retirement and return to work on either a full or part-time basis. Even the Department of Labor has noticed the increase in the labor force participation rates by those 65 and older. In 1985, only 10.8% of those over 65 were working. That number has nearly doubled and is growing. In fact, a study by the Gerontological Society of America reports that people 55 and older are the fastest-growing segment of the American workforce. Some of this is due to necessity. Increases in the cost of living, coupled with inadequate pensions, mean that people in the lowest income groups are most apt to return to work after retirement. But the percentage of returners, 35%, is also as high as the highest income groups, as more affluent retirees return to some form of professional work after a year or so to rest and renew. For some, retirement is no longer defined as the total cessation of work, but as work in a new direction, or work with fewer hours. The options for what kind of work we do in the later stages of our careers, once known as retirement, are no longer limited to volunteer roles and creative endeavors. They include a return to full-time employment, gig work — the share of workers who are self-employed rises markedly with age — starting your own business — people age 55 plus make up 21% of the U.S. population, but that age group owns a disproportionately high 50.9% of U.S. small businesses, according to survey data from 3,000 entrepreneurs. Social entrepreneurship, or a portfolio of some of these options. Here's the catch. More people are embracing new forms of work beyond traditional retirement age. But that does not make the personal experience of moving to a new stage of life and work any easier. Longevity has heralded the end of a lockstep, three-stage life in which a cohort of people of the same age go through a short learning period, university, a long working period, and a variable leisure period, retirement, at more or less the same time. As Linda Grattan and Andrew Scott argued in their book, The 100-Year Life, if we are now living decades longer than when retirement was first invented, it makes no sense to simply further stretch out the long working period between our 20s and 60s. Nor does it make sense to retire from a productive life when we are still at the height of our powers. Instead, it becomes logical to transition more frequently between periods of learning, working, and leisure. According to Forbes, for example, going back to school after age 50 is the new normal. A great illustration of this sort of jibing and tacking is Kevin, who, in his role as captain of a submarine at age 50, wasn't ready for retirement from the Navy. So he enrolled in law school. He already had an engineering degree, and wound up working as a lawyer for the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, helping veterans with appeals, ultimately becoming a judge before his second retirement so far at age 74. The new rule is that there are no rules. There are countless possible stages to our lives. We're making it up as we go along, changing the face of retirement as our parents knew it. That's